Support the Amigos podcast on Patreon or PayPal and receive cool perks and rad swag. Visit our page at everythingamiga.com/support.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to be talking about Globdule.
Do we have to call it that?
It sounds like something that's like an expectorant.
Sounds like something you'd hawk up or your cat would leave on the floor. You know?
Vocabulary is not your strong suit, is it? That's what an expectorant is.
Expectorant? Who says that?
Doctors.
Do I look like a doctor to you?
A little bit.
Well.
Dr. Demento. You know, let's not beat around the bush.
All right.
The protagonist in this game is a blob.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
Yeah, he is.
Now, the blob is sort of, most of the time the blob is the bad guy. Okay?
Oh, not on the Amiga, where
he
comes up again and again.
That's true. As the lazy animator's way out of a platformer. But where do you think the blob stands in the great pantheon of, 50s B-movie horror films?
I gotta tell you, I have not seen any 50s blob movies. I know they exist, but I'm not seeing any. Now, when I think of like really creepy blobs, did you ever, because I think about that a lot. I just sit around pondering creepy blobs in my spare time. Did you ever see, I know you have it, there's a movie called Creepshow. You ever seen that?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Is that does it have the Crypt Keeper in it?
No. Creepshow is a movie, that was a bunch of short Stephen King horror pieces.
I vaguely remember
anthology
this.
film. Well, they made a sequel called Creepshow 2. All right. And in Creepshow 2, there's this big, the very first thing they have is called The Raft. It's about a bunch of sexy teens that are jacking around this lake. All right, they break into this lake, the Forbidden Lake. They're going to go some skinny dipping, some sweet action. And there's this black tar that's floating around the lake. They're like, man, screw that tar.
Probably okay.
The tar, not amused. It comes over and starts wreaking havoc on these teens and eating them.
Wow.
Because it's a blob. It's a tar blob.
Yeah.
Right? That's probably the closest I
now,
can
hold
think
on
of
a
to a
second.
tar.
This thing is called The Raft?
Yeah, that's because or maybe it was the name or the dock, something. But anyway, it takes place at this lake.
Okay. So
Yeah,
I was thinking it would be about a man-eating raft.
No. It's a weird blob, and not to spoil this movie, but at the end, so it eats everybody. All right, they're all screwed. I think they're stuck on a raft in the middle of this lake, and they can't get away. So this one sexy teen, he makes a break for it, right? And he's swimming. In the meantime, the thing's eating some other sexy teens. It's distracted.
Yeah.
So it turns around and starts blobbing its way over this guy. This guy's hauling butt. And he makes it to the shore. And he's like, yeah, I'm the man. And this thing tidal waves him. Oh! He didn't realize the blob could, jump or whatever, and got him. That was it. So. Yeah.
What do you think, Creepshow versus Creepshow 2? Which one is creepier?
Creepshow 1 is your better Creepshow. Leslie Nielsen is a bad guy. Can't be bad. So yeah, I like Creepshow. Good stuff. Stephen King's had a very funny bit in it too. He actually acts in it.
Oh. I can't believe you haven't seen The Blob.
It's just, the 50s stuff, the giant ants.
Is that not your bag?
Night of the Lepus. I've seen a lot of that stuff in like Mystery Science Theater form, but it's not like I've watched a ton of it.
When I used to go to the St. Albans Library and hang out there, they had...
Wait a minute. You went and hung out at the library?
Yeah.
Doing what?
Well, my grandparents used to live in St. Albans.
Right.
So we used to walk right down College Hill where they lived and go to the library.
Okay.
And so they had these novelized versions of these 50s horror films.
Someone noveled those up?
Yeah. And so they had pictures. I mean, there weren't a lot of words. The plot was not too deep of these things, but I did read The Blob. And as far as I could tell, The Blob was not especially fast moving or menacing. I'm not sure how The Blob managed to capture as many people as it did.
It sneaks because blobs don't make no noise.
That's true. I didn't think about that. Air resistance.
You don't read comic books. There's a guy in the comics called The Blob. He's a big, huge, fat guy. Yeah.
Does he make a lot of noise?
Oh, yeah. He's kind of a loud jerk type.
So he's a different kind of blob.
He's a human blob. He's just imagine a big, tall, fat guy.
I don't have to imagine,
Just pretend I was like, Murr, and his bit that nothing moves the blob. You ever play that X-Men arcade game? He's in that.
Does he say nothing moves
the
blob?
He says that's what he says.
That's pretty crazy. So Aaron, let's talk about this week what's been going on everythingamiga.com? What's Dreamcatcher been up to?
It's funny that we had this conversation because he's got a bit this week. Attack the Clones, he calls it, as he will. One of his wackier things is he comes up with these crazy names. So, looking through this, this game popped up when I wasn't looking, but it looks like he's going into, guess what, crazy monster movie video game.
Oh, okay.
And then he goes into the game ARG, which, have you ever played ARG? I've heard of ARG.
Is it a Rampage clone?
I've not played it. I don't know what it is. I've never seen it before. I've heard about it, but I've never seen it. But he does mention a few other things that I do enjoy, which is Rampage, which is a great game. Me and the boy play the crap out of the Rampage sequel.
On the N64, Rampage World Tour.
That one. Well, it was also in the arcade. The N64 version has like a bunch of extra guys in it that you can pick up. The kid loves it. And his big thing, he likes eating people, and he likes it when one monster kicks the other monster low. He thinks that's hilarious. So at the end of every level, I could expect him to come up and nail me.
He got that from Primal Rage.
Well, he likes that too. He actually is a big fan of that game back when he was a little baby. So, anyway, this has got the usual dream catch of death. This R looks pretty good, Boat. Giant monster fighting, and with lots of different backgrounds. So we might have to check into this, man. This looks real good.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've not played it, but I like giant monster stuff. Again, not film-wise, but video game-wise, I'm down.
You're not a fan of the Mothra or anything like that.
Well, when it comes now, you're talking Japanese stuff. I have seen a lot of that. Godzilla.
Are there American giant monster movies?
Well, I mean, yeah. There's like giant, like Spider Island, and yeah, it's got William Shatner. Yeah, William Shatner's in that.
Spider Island.
Yeah, and then you've got the giant lizard. You've got that, and you've got the bunnies, Night of the Lepus. The giant. There's a giant grasshopper. I can't remember that.
Oh yeah, I think it was called Locust or something.
No, I can't remember the name of it. It wasn't Locust. It was there might be one just called Locust. And then it's funny because after the '60s they transitioned into like piranhas, sharks.
Yeah.
There weren't. I mean, they were.
Well, the plot of all these movies was that there was some sort of fallout from a thermonuclear blast that caused the mutation that caused something small to become giant. When that was no longer as much on people's minds, they had to move on to the new terrifying thing. Killer.
And a lot of times in the 70s, it was the echo concerns. You have killer piranhas and fish and stuff like that. You ever seen a bunch of piranhas, like in a tank?
Yeah. Well, no, not really.
They're mean looking, man.
I've seen Singular. They've got the teeth.
Yeah, they look mean, man. I've seen a tank full of them.
Have you seen that movie called?
Yes, I have seen that.
I saw that when I was a kid, and that movie is.
It scared the crap out of me. That's a little heavy for you. Even young Bo must have been petrified.
Well, just like you always say, back in the day when there wasn't as much to watch, you watched what was on. Yeah, and that was what was on.
It's funny. I had a well, I guess you could call it a party, but it's more like a sad middle-aged liquored up gathering. That'd be a better way to put it.
It sounds like Computer Club.
And it was way sadder because we watched on TV in its entirety. Just looked at it like, what are we seeing here? It was actually pretty interesting. I mean, sort of.
Turns into a snake.
Yeah.
It's all
That's
scaly.
what he wanted.
Yeah.
And then he got got. He got got.
Who says you can't get what you want?
No. There you go. That's lovely. Move on. God.
Let's talk about what's been going on in the wider world of Amiga news this week, Aaron.
In the world of what?
Amiga news.
There it is. All right, we're ready.
So, in the world of Amiga news, Aaron...
It's been crazy this week,
we have gotten quite a bit of news.
Oh, yeah, we got a ton this week.
The first story comes in from our man, Neil Mansell. Not that Neil Mansell, the other one.
There's several hundred Neil Mansell.
Yeah. He is the former author of the Kickstart magazine that we hosted for a time on our site.
Yes.
And he is
we
back.
Love this guy. He's great.
He's back with a new publication. If you go to neilmansellauthor.co.uk/name-the-mag, you can check out his plans for a new C64 or Amiga magazine /Amiga magazine and vote on the title. So I'm really excited to see what Neil has up his sleeve. I always enjoyed going through the magazine, especially on the show with you. It was really a really cool thing, so I'm glad that he's back writing again.
When we got an email from Neil, I was so happy because he's such a great guy, talented as the day is long. And I loved Amigos /Kickstart magazine. I read every issue. I got to write something for it one time, which is, for me, that was crazy. I don't know, I felt like I'm a writer, but it was fun. It was all about Lionheart, I believe. So I feel qualified. But Neil's great, friendly guy. I love it. I was so happy he popped back up. So yeah, I would give this a look because Neil's got something cooking. I can't wait.
Yeah. Okay, up next. Did you know, Aaron, that Amiga 34 is almost upon us?
I've heard a lot about this. This is going to be. This is a big, huge, ultra event.
Yeah,
it's huge.
So this is going down in Germany.
Oh man!
And this is Amiga 34 celebrating 34 years of creativity, innovation, and fun. So the website of this thing is awesome because every time you load it, it actually loads a different version of Workbench. Have you been on this thing before, Aaron? Okay. So right now we've got the 1.3 up, but you can see obviously all the big guys are going to be here.
Yeah.
Aeon, A1200.net.
You've got bitter rivals in the same joint.
Oh yeah.
There could be an Amiga style throwdown.
Yeah. And as you work your way through work your way through the site, it's just like having an Amiga desktop in your web browser.
Ooh.
So pretty cool. Unfortunately, Aaron, I don't think we're going to be making it to this one. Germany's a bit far away.
This would be the one. No.
Yeah.
Bring your checkbook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We'll get to that later.
Up next, it is Amiga Rama. He celebrated, our boy Lofarius celebrated a special milestone.
The Lord. Yes, he did. Have you listened to this particular episode?
I have not yet. It's like he does a bunch of music, right?
He plays DJ for this one. And of course the tunes are great, but hey, that's great. He's a real super duper nice guy, and hey, what can I say? He puts out a strong podcast. I listen to it all the time. I probably listen to the majority of them, and it's always good stuff. And I was happy to see that he hit the big 100. So congratulations, man. That's a great effort there.
Yeah. Congratulations, Lofarius.
He's been a real strong supporter of ours from way back too. So we love Lofarius.
Did you know, Aaron, that there is a new update for the Amiga 500 case campaign?
Oh boy!
So this comes from A1200.net, home of 1,000 news updates on this show.
Yeah. In fact, I've got one of their cases back at the pad.
Yeah.
Thanks to Tapes and Crypt.
Hot on the heels of their A1200 case redesign, they are redesigning an Amiga 500 case with lots of new slots cut out for holes for various, modern peripherals and things.
What's the fun of that when you don't take a Dremel and just go to work on it yourself?
I know. They should have consulted you.
I think they did because it's a big chunk that comes out right there. They call it the Aaron hole. Or the A-hole for short, which is what I felt like after I did that.
Well, they really go into detail in this video, going through all of the specific design choices that they've made. And if you are an A500 guy, which, I mean, why? Why would you be an A500
Why would you not
guy?
be? Are you kidding me? They got it all.
No, they've got none of it.
What are you
the
talking
A500
about?
had none of it.
What
It
do you
didn't
mean?
come with 1 mega RAM. It had the crappy RF out that you got to use the 590 for.
Oh no! Well, now wait a minute. Hold on. Back up for a second. Remember, if you're in Europe, all you do is just got that display port. You just hook this thing right up to your TV. It's hard for you.
None I've ever seen have had that.
I've got
That's
it,
all
and
I'm
it's great.
saying.
It's great. That work fine. Listen, don't rag on the A500. This machine here built the empire.
Oh, it
brother.
did. 80% of the Amigas sold were
Now that
A500s.
extension for a video, it's the dirt worst. It's the dirt worst. The worst. But everything else about it was fine. It's a great machine.
Okay.
Great machine.
Okay.
Plus, it's got something it does something that you love. It doesn't have AGA.
That's true. It does have that going for it. Let's move over to Facebook, Aaron.
Yes, the
place to be.
That's for one of our viewers.
All right, Phase 101, your favorite Malta hacking group and mine. They are hosting a competition. This is a competition for your. It's basically a game programming competition. You can use any language, you can use shoot 'em up construction kit, anything you want. And it is a Halloween game competition for both the Amiga and the C64. So I'm going to be watching these guys, Phase 101's Facebook page closely.
Yeah, because we need more stuff for our Halloween shows in the coming years. We've went through a bunch of
They're
stuff.
always such big hits.
Everyone a winner.
People can't wait till our next Halloween show.
Listen, I think we should go over all the Elvira games one more time.
One more time.
Hey, Elvira's in the news right now because her new pinball machine's coming out.
Really?
She's got a new one. Yeah, man.
Is Elvira still with us?
Are you kidding me? Have you seen her?
I thought she'd passed several years
Prima,
ago.
what are you talking about?
She's like 70.
Let me tell you something. She's the hottest old broad you're ever going to see, and
that
she's
might be true.
taking care of business. Listen, she's awesome. She's a pillar of the pinball community,
Okay.
and she should be a pillar of the Amiga community. Bring her in.
All right.
She should be working a convention circuit.
I'll send her an email, see if she wants to come over.
Let me
to
tell you something. I
Amiga
guarantee you, just from being a lot of computer shows and stuff, if Elvira rolled in, the line to get autographs and pictures would be out the door.
That's true. I imagine she does have
guarantee
quite a
you.
large online following.
Yes, she does. Oh, man.
All right, Aaron. Next up on the docket,
Here it is.
the Vampire 4. This is the standalone Vampire.
Yes,
this
it is.
This is the story of the week right here.
Yeah.
I mean, to say the least.
Scroll down so we can see the actual picture. There it is.
Yeah. So this is this thing is going to launch at Amiga 34.
I can't believe it.
Yeah. Yeah.
This reminds me of the Saturn launch. Like it just like right before the event, actually during the event, they're like, you can go buy these right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're on the floor. This is almost like that.
I hope it's more successful than the Saturn
just-
launch.
They probably won't sell as many at first. But so they have announced they've announced what this thing's going to effectively do. Now we should discuss this for a minute. Let's give this a bit of time.
Yeah.
So we're looking at a picture. This for you, the listening audience. The Apollo Team Vampire standalone unit looks like a small black box with some connectors coming out of it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it looks slightly lamer than your Atomic
it's
Pie.
not. It's way lamer actually. It's not. It's just not a looker.
No.
All right. This thing did not come. This thing came to work. It didn't come to party.
Yeah.
So-
the guys that were working from the A1200.net, the redesigned case for the A500, they were not consulted in the design of the.
I thought about this a lot today because we were talking about it in Discord, where all the great minds meet, and I come in and just look and drool and point. But it's not attractive. It is functional. All right, which is just it looks just like a Raspberry Pi style gimmick.
Sure.
Right? I mean, it's not obvious. It's not the same, but it's a.
Well, if
doodad
you
with
were to
parts.
look at it, you would think, okay, that's
Right.
yeah.
Now, this will also ship. It does not have a Kickstart ROMs on it. It's running with the Eros.
The Eros, yeah.
Stuff in there for legal reasons, but allegedly you could put the Kickstart ones in if you desire. Okay, and when I say ROMs, I'm assuming just put the ROM file in.
Right.
So here it is. We talked about this for a long time. A standalone new Amiga. It's funny to look at it because in my mind's eye, a new Amiga looked sort of like an old Amiga with maybe like Go Faster stripes on the side or fire, and maybe it had some glowing keyboard. And this is
some sweet pegs like my old bike.
because it's like your mystery Amiga. In your mind, you're like, oh man. But so when it actually arrives and you're kind of holding it, it's to me, and this is no one's fault, but it was sort of underwhelming. I don't know what I expected here. I expected some kind of all-in-one gimmick, but these guys aren't building that. They're building this is a hardware-based thingy, and it's going to be functional, right? And then some people have already been talking about putting one of these in like one of those A1500 cases, and I thought about that because that's probably what you'd want to do, except for this. This reminds me of when I was collecting arcade stuff left and right, and I went out and I was like, I bought a jukebox. All right, and I've got this jukebox. It takes 45 records, right? And I'm like, man, I got this jukebox.
Where'd you get that thing from?
I got it from a dude for like a song. No pun intended. It was because it didn't work. I'm gonna fix this jukebox, right? And I'm driving home one day. I'm listening to MP3s in this little MP3 player I had, and I thought to myself, I can store 1 billion MP3s in this little player and have better fidelity and quality, and this thing's smaller than the little hole inside the 145. Right? This is where my mind's eye meets reality. Having a big mammoth case, or even putting this thing in a big huge case, as cool as it would be, it really is sort of utterly pointless to the functionality of the item. Right? You know what I mean?
Well, you hit the nail on the head with utterly pointless.
Well, go ahead. You lost me. What do you mean?
This thing is crap.
Wait a minute. Now,
It's the
hold
worst.
on a second. Hold on a second.
You want me to talk or not?
Well, I mean, you don't want to go crazy here.
Well,
Why do you say that?
I'm about ready to go crazy,
Go
but
ahead.
I don't want to start going crazy until you're done.
No, I'm done. But I'm surprised. Why do you say that?
Okay. Everything about this is wrong. Every single decision they made in this is wrong. Everything from the dopey vampire logo to the 12-year-old gamer LED backlit keyboard.
Does that come with it, the keyboard?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it does. Why do you want to buy a new Amiga? You want to buy a new Amiga because it's going to be faster. Maybe it's going to be able to connect to more devices, more modern style devices. But you also want an Amiga to look different than a Raspberry Pi or an Atomic Pi. You want this thing to have a look because Amiga computers had a look. When you had an Amiga, you knew it wasn't a PC or a Mac. Okay? This thing, I mean, maybe they're so hung up on the coolness, and I say that with air quotes, of the Vampire brand.
It is cool guy looking.
Yeah. That they forgot who their audience was. But man, I mean, they could have really hit this thing out of the park if they would have put this thing in a unique looking, sexy case that called to mind the best design decisions of either the A1000 or the A500. Because here's the thing. You're like, well, why would you want to put it in a big case when it's so small? You're going to need a keyboard anyway. Okay? So if you need a keyboard anyway, why not build this thing into it?
You're not wrong.
You're right, I'm not wrong.
I mean, you're full of piss and vinegar, but that part I have to agree with you on.
I mean, it's so, for the price
it is surprising.
For the price that they're charging for this thing, I mean, it seems like such little thought, and maybe
what is the price? Scroll down there. I know they mentioned it at the bottom here. Yeah,
550 euros.
That's about $700, $800.
Yeah,
right. For
maybe slightly less than that with the current exchange rate.
US dollars.
But I mean, this thing literally looks like it could be a Raspberry Pi in a case. Okay, now I understand that underneath the hood there's lots of cool technology, but man, and then the LED keyboard, that's just the icing on the cake.
Well, those are free giveaways at the show, it says there. I believe is what it says there on the thing. So that may, it doesn't matter. This goes back to, we used to have these little discussions that I don't want to get into it, but on the Vampire board in general, the non-standalone one, which has got a programmable chip in it,
yeah.
The
An
standard,
FPGA,
like a Mister or whatever, and so you've got the standalone Amiga in this little box. I agree with what you're saying, but these guys they're not necessarily case designers or people that, I think maybe what they're doing is saying, here's your standalone Amiga, you put it what you want. Maybe that's the way we should read this.
And if that's the case, then they shouldn't have wrapped it up in this cheap look. I mean, they should have just showed the bare board.
Well, they could have.
That's what if they would have done that, I would have been fine with it, because that's what the Vampire is.
You're right. But here's the thing. I mean, I don't fault the guys for putting it in something. All right, you're asking for $700.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's say $650.
Okay.
Right? $650 for a no frills bare bone nothing that you, at least this, as cool guy as it looks, and I mentioned this in the Discord, it does look like, and their logo is kind of cool guy looking, like 90s cool guy style. Which, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I was in the 90s, but at least you could take this thing home, plug it in, play with it immediately. You don't have to worry about it spilling a pop on it or whatever. You got something. We don't know this case is probably an afterthought.
Sure, I guarantee. Right? Well, if it wasn't, there's something wrong.
Right, but I mean, so you can, if you look at it from that angle, you can see that part of it.
Well, yeah, but I'm also
the hardware is the thing.
I'm looking at it from the angle that I just paid $650 for this thing. Okay.
Yeah.
And I want something. I don't care how cool the board is. I want it wrapped up in something equally as cool.
Well, these guys probably though are not. They're not people that do keyboards and whatnot. Look how much trouble the A1200 people just had getting that project off the ground.
I'm not saying it's
easy. Or the
easy.
Checkmate, that Steven. So maybe they're gonna do maybe what I would do. What would be a good move for the community is maybe work out something where, hey, you can get the 1500 with this installed. There's a gimmick there.
Here's what I would have done. I would have called up Stephen Jones. Okay, I'm the guy on the Vampire team, and say, hey, you're getting ready to launch this Checkmate. All right.
Yeah.
Would you mind putting it off a month? Because we're going to launch the standalone Vampire. And how cool would it be if we could do a simultaneous launch at Amiga 34, simultaneously showing how awesome it is to put one of these things inside your case, and it's the perfect marriage of form and function.
Well, I know that thing was kickstarted, so I don't know how that would have worked. But I mean, I see you're right. It doesn't matter when that released anyway. They could. I agree with you. It would have been more aesthetically pleasing to have this in a more appropriate container at the show. That much said. I don't know how many they're bringing to the show, but they'll sell every one.
Oh yeah, and I guarantee you.
And I would probably buy one if I was there and had the money, just because they'll never go down in price. Like I was saying on Discord, might as well pick it up as a collectible. These FPGA setups, they're expensive because the chip alone is pricey, and then the amount of independent design that went into it. That was a lot of man. I mean, so I don't even have a lot of people are like, this is really pricey, and it is. But I don't have a problem with the price because they put a lot of work into it. A lot of man hours. They can charge what they want. I mean, I don't know, and they'll sell some at that price. And you've got a new Amiga equivalent, effectively, and if you want to have the same experience as you would have having an Amiga with a Vampire in it, this is probably going to be pretty darn close.
Well, except for the fact that you're not going to get the Kickstarter.
You mean the ROMs?
Right.
But those are cheap. Those are real cheap.
But I mean, I'm just saying, how,
and I can understand.
There's a lot of compromises here. I realize that the board is expensive to produce. There's a lot of things that are expensive to produce. There are a lot of things that take a lot of man hours. Just because something takes a long time to make doesn't mean that it's worth making.
If you scroll down a little bit more, I think at the bottom of this, here's what I want to talk about before we move on. Now, when you buy this thing, it's not 100% ready for prime time. There's some. Did you see this before this right this second?
No, I haven't seen
this.
So
the Ethernet on this thing is not
fantastic.
done.
Fantastic.
So you won't have Ethernet right away. The USB works with some stuff, but it's not ready. It's not ready for prime time.
You don't want to print.
Of course, most of the games will work, but with the Aeros, with those chips, your mileage.
I run into that all the time.
I use those all the time on that's not true. I occasionally will mess around with them on the emulator, and it's a mixed bag.
It is a mixed bag.
And then the boot drive. You can't boot from the micro SD yet. From what it says here, you can use those for data, but you can't actually boot from. So when you get this, not only will you be purchasing the Vampire standalone, but effectively you're going to be helping to work out these bugs.
Sure.
And this is sort of the way the Vampire cards have worked.
Yeah.
You'll buy the card, and then they're working on it as you go.
Right.
So you have to be comfortable with that. Now, again, if you're comfortable with dropping $650, and you're going to be getting something that's sort of functional. Of course, the Amiga didn't have
Ethernet.
SD or Ethernet or USB. So I mean,
and here's the thing, the people that this is, obviously I'm not the target audience for this thing. There are people, I'm sure, that are 100% behind this project. They want to be early adopters, and they want to be part of the development. And I think that that's cool. This is it's a total hobbyist machine.
Yeah.
It's not unlike the Aeon Technologies Amigas. The new Amiga,
or the Mister,
the next generation,
where they
Amigas.
Develop different cores as they go. Yeah, it's not.
Right.
And you're right, it is a hobbyist machine. This is not
right. I think the fact that they tried to make it look cool with the LED keyboard and the logo and stuff on it, that really kind of soured me on the whole deal.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't bother me that much because it was a giveaway just for Germany. Mm-hmm. I think the case is sort of an elaborate package. I mean, I'm not that down on this. I feel like the same way I felt with the Vampire boards. There's a weird area there. I don't know how I feel about it.
How much is a Vampire board?
They went up. I don't know. To be honest, we haven't priced one for a while. Because even if you go to the website, I had that same question. Because I've got the 600 now that's coming back, and we've got a 500. I was like, maybe we could put a Vampire and it's just a tinker with it. And when you go to the website, the best I could find out when you try to, basically you get added to a list of people, and never once could I see an actual physical price.
Okay, Picard says $379.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's about what, about 450, 500
Right.
US dollars.
For that price, especially if you're in Europe, you can get an A600 and a vampire board. For the price of this thing, you can get an A600 and a vampire board for it.
The flip side of that is you're going to be partially dependent on ancient technology.
True.
So, and you also you're going to have to fiddle with it, putting it in, making sure it works, and all the
But again, you know, you're everything is fiddle. That's why you buy this thing, is to fiddle around.
I mean, you're not wrong. Yeah, but I mean, I think there's a market for a standalone. I think it's an important step. It can be. It depends
step on the way to what?
I don't know. I don't know. We talked about this before. When they first announced this, I was excited about it, but I don't know exactly. It'll be interesting to see what. Okay, Spectrum Next. Okay. What is that?
I'll tell you. The first thing is it's a cool looking piece of kit.
Well,
so that's a check in its box.
You got to
right
think
there.
in the time it's taken the Spectrum Next to be announced and not shipped. These guys have pretty much announced, designed, and shipped this. It's here now. You can go buy one. And it's not a whole lot more expensive than the Next, all right? But I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm not comparing the two. What I'm saying is they're comparable as to they're sort of a quasi next generation that still has a foot in the door of the previous generation, right? So I can compare it to that. And so I'm going to go with that. Now, the Spectrum Next is a bunch of people making stuff that it's going to be ready when it comes out. Maybe people will be making things exclusively for this and for Vampire enabled.
And that would be, Ravi brought up a great point in the Discord. I think it was Ravi, and he said that if I was going to be launching this thing, I would hope to have at least a couple titles that this thing is, people are able to take advantage of all this extra power. I think they're launching with one game.
Again, this kind of goes back to the case. I suspect that the guys working on this, geniuses, they're not game programmers. These are guys that are hardware specialists that are doing this thing. The same thing that they don't design. They did this. They designed this, and presumably their approach is going to be let the community spring up around it, right? Which is what they would like. And I can't fault them for that. It is more. It's not like the Atari or the little Intellivision remake coming out where it's gonna be ready to go and you just play it. That's for consumers. This is for super hobbyists that are willing to drop $800 or $600 on something just in the hopes that maybe at bare minimum they can play all their old stuff and then maybe they'll get some new crazy stuff. So it's an interesting thing. It's two sort of communities clashing. I'm excited about it. And I'm anxious to see it in action. Bill had prototypes of this thing up at their meeting a few months ago. It looked interesting. I saw him playing it. So the price, I knew the price was going to be huge because it's just the base price to build it is pretty expensive.
Right.
So, I'm looking forward to it. I'm not condemning it. I'm more upbeat about it than you, but I can understand exactly because when I looked at it, I had to say. My first initial thought was like, "Oh shucks," and then I had to sit back and say, "Why am I mad?" So it is what it is.
Well, speaking of Amiga events, there's one coming up in January, Aaron.
I've heard about this.
Amiga Ireland is coming up in January, and as you know, I went to Ireland last year. Thanks to some very generous contributions from our community, from our listeners, and I would like to go back this year. But it all depends on if I'm able to raise the funds, as it were, because as you know, living in West Virginia, just to get to an airport that flies to Ireland is a very arduous and expensive journey.
Yeah, you should mention, just briefly tell them how far you've got to go and what you've got to do. I mean, you don't just hop in. We don't just get down in Charleston, do you?
No.
It's like an expensive trip just to get up to where you can fly.
Yeah, I've got to fly from Charleston to D.C., D.C. to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Just to get to the Philadelphia airport, which then flies to Dublin.
God.
Yeah. So
and you're visiting a couple of real fun towns still on the way.
Yeah. So anyway, I've opened up a new GoFundMe site, Send Boat Back to Amiga Ireland, and basically, what's in it for you? I am really going to up my game this year in terms of the coverage that I'm able to do. Last year, I was just sort of feeling things out. I wasn't sure what to expect. I didn't bring a whole lot of stuff because I wasn't sure what the environment was going to be like. Now I know what the environment's like, and I am ready. So I'm going to be bringing better cameras. I'm bringing the 5D Mark II to tape video and stream. I'm bringing the entire audio setup that we use for this show, plus a couple extra mics. I'm going to seek out, I'm going to get there a full day in advance. Okay. I'm taking off major time from work to do this thing. I'm going to get there a day in advance to scout out the perfect location to have interviews. And I'm also going to be there right at the beginning as they're setting up. I'm going to be helping set up, streaming the whole time from soup to nuts, this whole operation. Not only that, whenever we have the parties after the show, going out to Gertie Brown's, the big after party where everybody goes afterwards, I'm going to provide coverage of that. I'm going to try and interview all of the big names that are there. I got quite a few last year, but there were a couple that I missed out on. And there may be a couple other things in the works that I've been talking to Erla about.
I suggest that for your trip in 2 years, you could take the footage you shoot at the local bars afterwards and use it for blackmail material.
Oh, that's true. That's true. That's true. But anyway, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful to go, and I want to thank Chris Folds and Paul Harrington for jumping in early for contributing to my voyage.
I thought last year I loved your coverage. I watched a good chunk of it, and live, and it was awesome. And the fact that now that you know all the guys running it and stuff, and you've been there before, so you should really be able to crank it up.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to providing some more professional style.
See if you can get the Cloanto guy again and flip the.
I'll remember to turn on the microphone this time for sure. All right, Aaron, you ready to jump into Globdule? Are you ready to sink slowly in?
No, I'm not. I'm not ready for that. That sounds hideous. But I guess we're going to do it, aren't we? So, I know I always ask you this, Bo, and I'm going to ask again. Have you ever played Globdule?
This was my first go-round.
Had you heard of this game?
No.
I had not
I was
either.
very surprised because it's a Psygnosis title.
I know. I'd say I never heard of this. In my whole Amiga life, I never heard of this. It's not one I'd come across ever.
Yeah.
So, Globdule. I gotta keep saying that, don't I? First got released in '93, and you mentioned it was published by Psygnosis, which this is nuttier, one of their nuttier publishing bits, and it was developed by an outfit called Examino. Now, I tried to look into Examino. Good luck. There's
nothing there.
I can't find nothing about these guys. And this is the only Amiga game they did. In fact, several of the guys that worked on this was the only Amiga game that they worked on. The coder or the artist of this thing was a guy named Ian Shaw. It's funny, I was looking, this is an odd thing to see on, which one was it? It was one of the Amiga news sites had a little write-up of this, and because the credits list a Anthony Ball as a coder, okay, and it's also lists Ian Shaw as a coder. But according to Hall of Light, it says here Anthony Ball merely allowed Ian Shaw to use some of his routines. He didn't actually code anything in the game.
Wow, I wonder if he got any residuals.
I don't know. I thought it was a weird thing to list
Yeah.
there, so there must be something somewhere. I looked for some interviews on, but I didn't see anything mentioning that. Graphics were done by a fellow named Lloyd Baker. It was produced by, now listen, this is a name you'll remember, Greg Duddle, because we've looked at a couple of his games. He worked on Benefactor and Wiz and Liz, which we liked.
I like both those games.
We liked both those games. And the musician on this was a fellow named Mike Clark. We've actually covered a few of his games too, including he did Hired Guns, Last Action Hero, Wiz and Liz, and Last Ninja 2.
Okay.
Which we looked at that one.
So this is a pretty good team we got going on.
Well, again, this is the music. So, but like I said, the majority of these people didn't really work on a whole lot of stuff on this. This runs on ECS OCS. So this is another one that it's funny to think that I can't wait. I've been working on my 1000 this week to get it up to speed. I got to get a keyboard cord for it. But I was like, man, I'm not going to play all the games I'm used to playing. But really, I remember having the 1000 for years and playing just about everything.
There's a lot. Yeah, it'll run a lot of stuff.
So this is straight from the box. You know I love these. But this was such corn baloney. I had to write some stuff down. So Globdule. This is from the box now. Globdule, the first ever Splatform game. Get it? Huh? brings an entirely new type of game to the Amiga. This had never been done. All right, the blob game.
Okay.
Globdule wants to become the latest toy around and has to make his way through a world of caves, ever nasties, and cunning traps using his phenomenal sticking ability on his journey to that great toy ship in the sky. And believe it, with Globdule's unbelievable splatform antics,
they're getting their money's worth out of that.
He's bound to become a star on the Amiga. There you go. Now, how you rate this guy as a star? Well, yeah, he is a guy. How you rate him as a star may vary. So, what is this game? We're going to call it a platformer. It is a platformer, but it's very unique. I will say it is an unusual platforming game. You play a little blob, and the backstory in this, which is ridiculously stupid. He's got a get it out of there, boat. Basically, he wants to become. His goal in life is to become a toy, and to do that, he has to survive his way to the great toy maker
in the sky,
who has promised that if he can complete these trials, he will be made into a toy.
Okay.
Right now, there's really not much of a intro package on that, and there's no cutscene. And if you watch the ending of this, this has one of the all-time crap endings in Amiga history.
For some reason, I neglected to look it up.
Well, you made the right decision, but and I hate to spoil it for you, but the ending is text telling you what happens. Horrible. Yeah. They didn't have the good decency to put a picture in there and show you the blob going like blah. It's like a toy
with his arm around his blob girlfriend.
Yeah. Who looks distant and aloof. Yeah. It's funny. I was just thinking how great it'd be to have that on your shirt.
Me too. I was thinking about that too.
So, what is wrong with that?
I don't know.
So your little Globdule, his goal is to get off these levels is to collect stuff. Now, this took a look at Super Frog and said, you call that collecting?
Right.
I'm going to show you collecting, brother. This thing has collections to beat the band, boat. It's got tons and tons of stuff to collect. So, when you're playing the little blob, unlike most platformers, you actually stick to the walls and the floor and stuff everywhere you can. And so what it does is it means he basically can go around everything. It's real unusual play style. And so along the way there'll be bad guys or spikes, stuff like that, or fire that is just basically built into the wall. That's how they get you. And so, but since you can go everywhere, I mean, really the level design in this is pretty important. And I thought for the most part, they did a pretty clever job in as far as I could get. Now, I did not get past the second level. And I was cheating, I might add. I started out playing this on the Amiga, and I broke down and went to the emulator so I could do save states because I was getting frustrated. But the game is an attractive game, I thought. I think it has a good look to it. This is actually, despite the fact you're playing a little blob, he's probably one of the better.
He's one of the better
platform characters we've seen on the Amiga.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Because I mean, here's what
you've got. It's also a low bar.
You've got some emotive eyeballs and a blob. The blob looks good. The eyes look at where you're going.
He's not offensive to my eyes like Kid Chaos was.
He's not offensive to the eyes.
Or that weird baby.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird ones. I mean, again, is this guy going to win the most creative mascot award? No. But he's not. But unlike most games we play, it made me not want to look away in horror. I could stand him. He's actually pretty interesting to control. Aside from sliding around, he can jump. And when you jump, he doesn't jump like a standard platformer character. He sort of launches himself out at the angle of the surface he's on.
That's exactly what he does.
And that's the key to a lot of the game. It involves lining yourself up. Now, when you're in the air, you have control over where you sail, more or less. But this is not Mario.
Well, no, I don't. I wouldn't agree with that at all. You pretty much sail in one direction until you hit another wall. You have no control.
That's not true. It depends on here. And let me explain what I mean. If you are on the side of a wall and you launch off, you're pretty much going to fly directly sideways as to where you went. However, if you launch yourself at like an angle upward. Like I'm saying, like if you're like on like a surface that's just sort of leany, you can, when you're up in your arc, you can actually control where you go.
Okay.
It depends on how it depends on falling versus jumping. So I guess what I mean is if he's on something sideways or upside down, that's sort of falling. If he's actually on like sort of a semi-flat surface or flat, he's sort of jumping up, and then you have some limited control of him. That makes a difference. And so a lot of what you're doing in this game, aside from getting to the point where you need to get to the collectibles, is actually lining up your jumps to get all the collectibles.
Right. Well, that is the game.
Well, that's a good chunk of the game. There's a little bit more because there's jumping on bad guys and avoiding spikes. Now, just with all that said, Bo, give me your initial thoughts on this thing. And when you first started playing it, what did you think about this interesting and unique play style?
Well, at the beginning, I thought it was kind of interesting. This game, it's certainly different than any other platformer I've ever played.
Yeah.
I can't think of another platformer with this particular mechanic. The more I played it, the less enamored I became of it. Although it is unique, I would not call it fun. In fact, I would call it not fun. This reminds me is if you took the ninja rope on Worms and you turned it into a play style, like you know how with the ninja rope you can swing down and then you can reel yourself in and then you can spring out again. Yeah. Okay, so if that was, and that's fun when you're playing Worms and you expect stuff to go wrong. When you're trying to line up precise jumps and do what you want to do, it became much less fun. I found myself being very frustrated just because this game in all other respects other than controls looks like your standard platformer. I mean, this could be Zool or any number of things. And because it does look so much like a standard platformer, unless you're constantly reminding yourself that you're not playing something that controls like that, you're going to be in for a world of frustration.
I sort of see where you're coming. The game, is it fun? And you mentioned that you didn't think it was. It's an interesting point because and this is something I want to bring up. So we mentioned that you have to position yourself for jumps. It's important not just for collections, but to avoid spikes and fire and enemies and whatnot. Now, there's a lot. This is your typical sort of European style game where you have to collect stuff, and then eventually when you collect it all, the level, you can get out of the level. Right? We see that a lot in these, right?
Yeah.
Now,
and there's we should talk about how you collect myriad objects in this game. There are many different types of things you can collect, and the docs actually go so far to say that the Globdule has a pocket that he keeps all these things in. To me, that would be the one advantage of being a Globdule, is that you don't need a pocket. You're a Globdule, you just stick it down in your gelatinous ooze and let it fester there.
Yeah.
So the
how unappealing a sentence that was. My God.
So the problem is that you collect all of these different things, and none of the stuff actually does anything other than what you need to collect, the number of what you need to collect to get out of the level.
Yeah.
Now, every level has a different number and type of thing that you need to collect. Some levels you have to collect a certain amount of one thing, a certain amount of another. Yeah. What happens is you end up just collecting a bunch of other stuff just for the heck of it. And you can actually press the space bar and cycle through all of your inventory.
I couldn't figure out why.
Yeah, to me, this is a real wasted opportunity. I think they could have really had something if they would have said, okay, on this stage, you need to collect 40 diamonds and 30 apples. For every 10 emeralds you collect, you get an extra hit point or something like that. Like, give me a reason to collect the other stuff. You're already giving me this inventory where I can cycle through stuff. Another big misstep was the lack of power-ups. I wanted something that could make me like super Globdule, like maybe let me grow in size.
Or shoot something.
Yeah, or give me a projectile or something.
Or be invulnerable.
Speaking of other blob games, A Boy and His Blob. The whole game is that you're feeding your blob jelly beans, and the blob transforms. Boy,
that's a great game.
Yeah. Why not have something like that in this game?
Yeah, well, I've got a couple thoughts on that. if you notice the intro for this game and the option screen and the ending of the game, it has, and also the inventory thing, which also struck me as odd. In fact, I thought, man, well, maybe it's somewhere down in the future of the game, like later past where I got with this, but I couldn't see a point where that did anything. So I have a guess, and the guess is that this game got rushed out. The intro is crap. Literally, you have no options effectively. It's the end of the game's crap. Now, so I mean, not all. It's not like they rushed through the whole game. There's a lot of good points, but it is odd. That struck me as odd that they would even keep track like that. Because really, except to find out if you've got the key or not, which you forget maybe if you got it. I didn't get much use out of that. But again,
well, and the way that you open up, like, one thing about this game that angered me is that when you've got the key, you can't just run into the door. You have to actually glob yourself over the lock.
I watched you on
the key.
I watched you on the playthrough. I was cackling as you tried to get there.
It was very, very frustrating. We should talk about the main point of my frustration on that video too: exiting the level.
Yes, the very first level, and I have to say, I'm not gonna lie, I did the same exact thing so I just basically sat there and tried every conceivable way to get out.
Right. So in most games, Amiga platformers where you have to collect a certain amount of things to exit, there will usually be a door that opens up and you press open to go through the door. In this game, or you might just run off the edge of the screen, Sonic style. In this game, you have, I don't know what exactly. It's
a little red platform that when you finish the level, fireworks or
it's almost like an eruption of a volcano. Which, in the first place, I was reluctant to go into it because I thought it would hurt me.
Yeah, I thought it was fireworks, and so I just stood on it, and I was like, well, I guess I'm okay. And what do I do?
So now what they could have done is either just when you collected all the things you needed it just makes you go past the level. Another thing they could have done is given you the platform. And it's only natural when you've got a platform and you press up, nothing happens. You press down, nothing happens. You have to hold fire and press down, which most of the time pressing fire does what?
Fire something.
No.
Jumps. Yeah.
In this game, pressing fire jumps. Completely counterintuitive to what you think is going to happen.
Yeah.
Because when you jump off the freaking platform.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, it's a little thing, but it's so goofy.
It's very poor.
I mean, once you figure it out, you just do it every time you pull down, but it was weird. Now, one thing I wanted to get into a little bit, and I wanted to see if you thought this way. You mentioned that you collect a ton of stuff, and of course, there's a zillion things. One of the things that gets frustrating is how long it takes to collect stuff in this. Now, this is a symptom of the game style, which is you have to get in a certain position to jump to collect certain things. So often you'll be in a room that's round or curved, and there's a big pile of stuff in the middle. Some of it you definitely have to have. And if you want to get it all for completeness, you've got to jump about 1,000,000 times back and forth, trying to get it all. Because you have to move your guy to a certain spot, aim, and then jump. It's almost like you're shooting your guy in a weird way. And so that gets old quick. Because when you're whipping through a level, and you're like, okay, here we go. I'm going through. Or even if you're in a bonus area and you're a quickie, you're in there for forever, bouncing back and forth.
All you're doing is setting up an angle, jumping from one wall to the other, setting up an angle. Yeah. It's not particularly challenging. It's just dull.
And it can get frustrating when you jump from one angle, and it can actually shoot you right down to the hole you came in and down into fire or whatever, because you can fall a good ways.
And then of course, as you're falling, you just manically push the button to try and save yourself, and that puts you in an even worse spot.
Yeah.
This is a very you have to think a lot. It's a very cerebral game, which is sort of antithetical to most platformers. I would hesitate. I mean, it is a platformer, but it's very physics based. These days I'm sure there's a whole genre of games like this.
It's very. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I like the game. Okay, because it's really different. We always talk about it's the same old crap. They tried to think outside the box. And they sort of succeeded. The more I played this, though, the less I liked it, and it's because it would just it got. It wasn't even super hard. It just got frustrating and annoying.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, annoying is the word I would use.
Yeah.
And gathering of stuff was the annoying thing. Or also, like, for example, if you've got to jump over a big pit of fire or something, and they put collectibles over the fire that you need to get. That's annoying. Yeah. Plus, you can get
because
killed,
it's all trial and error.
It is. And
it's a lot like setting up a pool shot where you do it a whole bunch of times and it becomes easier. But when you're first starting out and you don't have unlimited tries, you're like, well, I'm going to go like 3 pixels over this time. Nope, that didn't work. I died back at the beginning. 4 pixels over.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now we haven't talked about the enemies you're going to come across. Really, in the cavern zone, there's not a whole lot of enemies. I think there's some barking dogs at one point. When you get to the second stage, you're going to see animals and stuff walking around, ducks and all kinds of stuff. And you can basically hop on them. And when you hop on them, their eyeballs are still there, but they're gone. And you can collect the eyeballs. Yeah. It's funny because some of the, like for example, there's at one point you're doing this, and there's a mama duck with her ducklings. Just kind of walking around, screw them.
Yeah, glob. It's a very Brian the Lion-esque thing where your enemies aren't really there to menace you, yet you destroy them without mercy.
Kill them.
Yeah,
just kill them. And they're pretty cute, some of them too. But just you kill them. So there are different scenarios in this. Of course, you've got the cave. There's the woods. There's like a toy shop that looked pretty cool. I didn't get that far, but I watched a video of that. I looked around, and the game is long. I mean, there's a ton of levels, but the levels repeat. I mean, the scenarios sort of repeat after you go through and watch. So it's like you're going to see like tons and tons of new content. You're going to see, basically new levels with the same sort of graphics set that you're used to. But all in all, I sort of kind of would recommend this game for a look. Like I said, I've not played. I mean, and of course, I don't play much modern stuff, so there could be a ton of these out now. There are certain points in this that it almost even has a Sonic feel if you're because there's sort of a momentum and a gravity.
Well, in the way that you destroy enemies, you start to rotate as you jump, and that kills enemies.
I mean, there are little tubes you can go down. He's hauling butt down through the same. It runs at a good clip,
Yeah, the gameplay is very smooth. I think that if someone were they're like, man, I want to check out a Psygnosis game, I would suggest this over almost any title in the Psygnosis catalog.
Oh man,
I mean, Psygnosis. Think about most of their games just punishingly difficult. Can't get by the first screen difficult.
I don't fully agree with you, but I mean, I do agree that their games are punishingly
hard. Tell me a Psygnosis game that's easier to get into than this.
Well, they published the game.
That you're not answering me.
Didn't they publish Lemmings?
No, that was DMA.
No, they published it. DMA designed it. I think Psygnosis published Lemmings. So there's one right there.
Okay.
You can't blame the publisher if they make it hard. They should. Now, here's something funny. Speaking of Psygnosis, just a couple of tidbits I found when I was nosing around. So when this game came out, it wasn't a hard drive installable, but from what I read, if you called up or wrote to Psygnosis, they could send you a hard drive installable version of this, which I'm kind of weird.
Yeah.
But I guess enough people complained about it. Something else I read is that when this thing came out on a demo disc, it debuted on a demo disc in Amiga Power in '93, and the introduction text on it said Psygnosis presents, but they spelled Psygnosis wrong. Not good.
No.
Not good on that one. So that's another thing that makes me wonder if they were, asleep at the wheel, basically on this. But overall, did you watch I don't know how far you got. Did you watch on past where you got?
No, I forgot to. I saw the second level, but I didn't progress.
I mean, it's not like I said, it's nothing that's going to blow your mind. But I mean, there's some pretty clever. There's a lot of clever things in terms of jumping and avoiding, but I mean, a lot of it's more of the same. I read a lot of people on Lemon were saying that the later levels were too ugly and they didn't like it, but I thought they looked okay. I mean, I thought personally, I thought they looked okay.
I have no qualms with the way this game looks at all. To me, this is one of the best looking. I mean, the colors, nothing is washed out. The collectibles are well drawn, even though there's a million of them. Yeah. The enemies are well drawn and well animated. There's a lot to praise in this game.
I don't get that the overwhelming growth of collectibles in all these games. I don't get that. It's weird, isn't it?
It was just one of those things that started in Europe and it just became just sort of a given. Like, we got to have tons of things. They probably did some market research. And they said, hey, what do you like about this game? Well, I love there's tons of crap to get all over the place. And they're like, all right, from now on, that's what we do.
There's a few Midland things we should mention. Aside from the fact that your guy also goes underwater, I thought that was interesting. He gets a little like a snorkel mask.
Yeah, kind of reminds me of Flood there.
Did you actually play any of the underwater stuff?
No,
that's a pretty weird. It's a bizarre, unusual feeling. This thing has a password save feature. and that's perfectly fine. And when you beat a full level, you can actually go back and play old levels, and there's sort of a branching path you can go down. So it kind of would vary up how you play with it. I thought that was nice. So they dotted their I's on that one. Overall though, I like I said, I kind of dug it. It's okay. It's not the best game I played, but it's certainly not the worst.
Oh no.
Now, I looked up some review scores on this one, Boatster. The Lemon folks gave this thing a 7.14. It's funny this game was real divisive on Lemon. I mean, I was reading the comments.
I couldn't believe how low this game scored on Lemon. I could not.
Well, 7's not low.
Yeah, for Lemon.
But I mean, there were a lot of people that just were like, "Listen, this game's." I mean, some people are like, "This is the best platform in the Amiga," and some are like, "This is absolute crap." So this is one of those types of games.
I guarantee you, we've never played a game that scored this low on Lemon.
Oh yeah, we have. What are you talking? We played Top Banana.
Oh well,
okay.
That
oh yeah, boy, I'm shooting you down left to the right. So I looked at some. Here's some magazines we haven't talked about. Amiga Dream, 89%. Tilt, 85. That's a weird name for an Amiga magazine. Amiga Power, 82. Playtime, 74. Amiga Games, 72. Amiga Joker, 72. Obligement, 70. Amiga Format, 69. And I read the Amiga Format article, and one of the things they mentioned was that this game was expensive when it came out. I guess it was, I think it was something like 29 pounds, something like that. I mean,
wow.
that is expensive, isn't it, for a new game?
Although, I mean, I think that was the sort of MSRP for Amiga games.
Well, I know that was their big complaint about the game. It's like, yeah, this thing's way too pricey for this. It's a middle-end platform. That's too much money. So, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, to me, would I take this over Shadow of the Beast? Yes, any day of the week.
It's way more playable.
Yeah.
It's way more playable.
I guarantee you that Shadow of the Beast cost just as much as this game did.
You reminded me of something. This game has tons and tons of music.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the music's pretty good.
Yeah.
I liked it, and there's a lot of different music.
There's a lot of different
levels.
tracks, and that's the main thing.
And it plays while you're playing.
Yeah.
Which is nice. So
there's a lot to like about this
so
game, yeah.
That's one thing we can agree on there. That's good. So overall, I think you sort of feel like I do.
Yeah.
Maybe a little downer on it than I am, but overall, it's okay.
Right.
It was a good try of something different, and I'll give them points for that.
Right. We had a couple reviews on our Discord. Chris Folds writes, an amazing concept, cute graphics, music is as you expect to hear on the Amiga. You can hear that instrument pack a mile off. However, for some reason I didn't get, the controls never felt natural like I was always fighting them. A good effort, but no masterpiece. 6 out of 10. Graham W. Vebke says, a scrolling platform game with a pink goo-like character that reminds me of the character in Putty at times. Being goo-like, your character is able to stick to pretty much any wall or ceiling in the game, but you have no arms and therefore no weapons. So your only course of action is to avoid all the enemies and obstacles, and at times that reminds me of Flood. Overall, the levels are quite long and mostly frustrating because of the controls, and this stops me playing this more. 6 out of 10.
I will say Flood did have a more a disturbing ending than this.
Yeah. And finally, Pixels at Dawn says, a platformer that is often overlooked in the Psygnosis catalog, but actually it's a very solid game. The main character is very quick to move, although jumping from an angled slope can take some getting your head around. It never quite becomes second nature. The mechanic works in the world, but not in your head. A fun game once you figure out how to take out the enemies, and not horrendously difficult like most Amiga platformers. Yeah. I finished the first world on the first try. Yeah. 7 out of 10.
Well, to be honest, the first world. Okay, that's because the first level.
Yeah. Hey man, I had trouble with that first level.
You know what is always amusing to me is that we don't consult anyone. We don't even talk to each other when we do these, do we? But often people are sort of like of the same mindset. I don't know what that means, but I mean, I guess like because 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, that's pretty much where I'd put this. We're in that ballpark.
Me too. Aaron, why don't we talk a little bit about what's been going on the everything or the Amigos Retro Gaming YouTube channel?
Man, this has been a banner week for videos. It's been great.
So let's start things off with reloading the channel, I guess. Oh no,
videos.
Yeah,
you always do that.
I always do that. Sorry. So let's move all the way back to last week, when we talked about the 10-minute... Actually, we can talk a little bit about the Coco Show, because we actually launched that after last week's show. We are starting a new monthly show called the Coco Show. It's all about the TRS-80 Tandy color computer. We did a little teaser episode, just a little quick 10-minute teaser. It's gotten pretty good action so far, so we still plan on moving forward with that. I'm hoping that Aaron comes up with the games that we're going to play here pretty soon, so I can dive right in.
I will.
Yeah. So be on the lookout for that early next month.
When do you put on? Do we have any idea on a debut date for that?
I'm hoping it's next week.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah. I interviewed the one and only 10-minute Amiga Retrocast last week, Mark Douglas. He is a very cool dude. He knows a ton about Amiga and the whole non-gaming side of things, which is something that I don't know anything about. So I had a really great talk with him and his backgrounds and influences things and all the things that he's doing on his channel. If you're not watching the 10-minute Amiga Retrocast, you need to. He really goes in deep in the weeds with his series on different hardware, and he's branching out into different platforms now too.
I heard that. Now, I watched this. I enjoyed this quite a bit. It was another, you're on fire interview-wise, and you're getting good guests too. And the fact that Mark talked about working in the camera shop, that was great. And I also like the fact he mentioned using this thing called DigiView, which was a Amiga video digitizer. Now, I had one of these bad boys myself, so when he was talking about using it, I was like, let's see if he mentions that color wheel, and he did. I remember trying to get this thing to work with this color wheel, and man, of course, I didn't work in a camera shop. I couldn't spell camera, and so I had this thing out. And I'm just like, it was the images I created were banned in all countries. They were the worst. I couldn't get this thing down, and I don't know where I got this digital. It came in a deal or something. You get stuff. Oh yeah. Man, and it was, I also had one of those real sound, or perfect sound things that went on the back for sound. It's just very similar results. Not only am I not working in a camera shop, I don't work in a recording studio either. Horrible. So I'll give them thumbs up just being able to figure out how to use that darn thing. But yeah, great interview, Bo. You guys did a great job. And Tim Mark, I said, great, very knowledgeable dude.
Now, this has been the week. I don't think we've ever had a week like this week in all the years we've been podcasting.
Yeah, that happened in between shows.
Yeah.
Did I even hint about this last week?
I don't think so.
So, it's not to go too deep into it, but I get bored at jiu-jitsu, and I'm waiting for my kid to finish up. So I got the old phone out. This is like so many stories, and I'm looking at Facebook Marketplace, and the dude has always searched for Amiga, and I've only came up one time, and that's when I bought my 1200 a couple years ago. So this guy, it comes up, bam, dude selling an Amiga 1000, $100. I'm like, whoa, $100! I'm going to get me some of that sweet Amiga action. So I'm send the guy a message. I'm like, listen, I'd like to get in on this. He goes, listen, you got two guys ahead of you. I might call back. And I was like, oh man. So I kept talking to the guy, and I was like, if they fall through, I might even be able to go a little bit higher than $100 on it, because I really wanted this. He's like, well, so we'll do. So I kept chatting with the guy, because Mothman was last week at the Mothman Fest, but all through Mothman, I would take time to send the guy a message, just something like, I'm interested in all...
Thinking of you.
I'm interested in all Commodore stuff. I'm interested in all vintage computers if you have anything else, because I want to keep my name, and he knows I'm still interested,
Yeah, fresh in his mind.
It's called, I'm working the deal. So anyway, Sunday morning, I hear a message come in. I'm like, bam, this is it. This is it right here. It was you. I was like, son of a gun, 6:30 in the morning. I can't remember what you messaged me about.
Oh, I was like, have you played Popeye yet? It's pretty rad.
No, it's not what it was. So then, about 5 minutes later, at 6:40, bam, message. I'm like, that's it. I'm in, and it was him. He's like, listen, are you available today? I was like, hell yeah. So then he starts saying, well, I've got this other stuff too. I'm like, well, what do you got? Well, I made a bulk deal, $300 deal. All right. And not that I can't name everything I got, but what I ended up getting out of this deal was I got that, as you see on the screen, a big, huge box of cables.
Big crate of cords.
I got the Amiga 1000 Sans keyboard cord. I've got to find a replacement keyboard cords. That has killed me on that until I get one. But anyway, I got 6 mice.
Can you use a phone?
No.
No.
I mean, there's a gimmick where you can jury rig something, but I haven't done it. I got 6 tank mice, a couple mystery mice. One fella said they thought one was a C64 mouse. I got an Amiga 500. I got an Amiga 500 power supply and the video thing you hate that comes out the back. I got a some Amiga 500 sidecar with a hard drive in it. I got 2 side things for the Amiga 1000 that give it a SCSI drive and I think one's a Supra drive card, and then the a 2 meg upgrade memory thing that goes on the side. I got a slew of cables. I got a 1084S monitor, and I got a 1080 monitor, which is a real old Amiga monitor. I got get this, I got a 5 1/4 inch Amiga floppy drive.
Wow.
Which I've never actually had one of those, but I've seen them. So anyway, he threw in the C64 he had and this other gimmick. He's like, yeah, I've been getting a lot of calls about this thing, but I don't feel like shipping it. And this thing weighs about 30 pounds. And what it is a C64 hard drive, external hard drive. It weighs a ton. I've been told these things I know they're beyond rare.
Yeah.
And the C64 is gimmicked up with a weird port on it to accommodate this hard drive. So this is a special C64 drive. I got a power supply. I got all this for $300 and plus some other stuff. I can't remember what else I got. It was a heck of a bargain. And so when I got this stuff home, I took Brent. I said, Brent, come over and help me load this stuff up. And then we were loading it in the arcade. I'm like, let's just shoot a video of looking through it. And that's what we did. And so if you want to watch it, you can go check it out.
Look at that.
That's right. Yeah, Eric, it's a monster hard drive, buddy.
And as if one mega unboxing wasn't enough, here in the chat with us right now, Raushi MSX, our buddy Randall, sent us 5 boxes of glorious Spectrum, C64, and Amiga goodness.
Oh man, it was a happening there. That was a ton of stuff.
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. So it took me, actually did a 4-part video series on this because my internet kept going out.
It was like The Stand.
Yeah.
It was just it was like 8 hours of continual unpacking.
It was a special television event.
Yeah.
But man, he sent us tons and tons of awesome stuff. Great boxed Amiga software. Like I'm just unwrapping a copy of UFO Enemy Unknown. My favorite thing, which I unwrapped at the very end of the video, was Frontier Elite 2. Actually open that bad boy up and talk about all the cool stuff that was inside of it, including the famous star chart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the game you opened where it had all the cool like war stuff?
That was Campaign.
That looked tremendous. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
You also got the C32 version of this, which is awesome.
He sent us a big pile of CD32 games.
Let's break those out. I got the C32 at the house. When I bring it over to Computer Club, it'll be fun time.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Randall. We really, really appreciate it. And Aaron can testify that I've aligned everything up on the shelves quite
He has
neatly.
a hoard over there.
Yeah. So anyway,
he was very generous. He was
absolutely,
and he's a super nice guy. I've been talking to him a lot in the Discord. He's a real super cool guy.
Yeah. And next up, Aaron, you want to talk a little bit about this week's ARG Presents?
We actually had a pretty good time this week, in spite of the games. This week we all decided we were playing games on the Super Graphics, which is sort of the sequel to the TurboGrafx 16 / Mega Drive or / PC Engine. And this system only had 5 released games, and so that limited us to what games we're going to pick. I picked a game called Alias, and he picked a game called Battle Ace. And we just sort of went over the system, went through it. We had a good time. I wouldn't rush out and buy one of these, if I were you. Save your money, go out and get yourself an Aquarius computer. I think that's where the money would be, but hey, it had a bigger library. But we had a good time.
Are those Atari symbols up there?
They do sort of look like Atari symbol. And this week we got a real wacky one going. If you want to join us live Sunday for those in the chat room, we're going to be doing the Emerson Arcadia 2001.
Ooh, I'm really looking forward to that. The more obscure, the better.
This one is super duper obscure.
Yeah. And finally, just last night, I guess it's been 2 days ago, according to YouTube, although I thought it was last night. Maybe it was 2 days ago.
There's the intricate opening menu.
Right. I actually entered Globdule into the ranking of Amiga platformers, and so you can see how it worked out on the spreadsheet there.
It was funny.
Yeah.
You had an instant disdain for this game from that first.
It wasn't a good first impression.
I never watched Boat's playthroughs until I played the game. That way I could go back and cackle and delight and glee.
I'm glad to provide amusement.
It does.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. So as we move towards the end of the program.
Wait, I forgot one thing. Before we get out of the videos, our good buddy, the Huck, the Huckster, he's got a couple videos out. And he's got 3 videos out that are very good. We missed one of his Amiga videos from a couple weeks ago, which was great. But he's got another series of 2 videos out on this crazy system from Australia. It's the darndest thing I've ever seen, this system. And it's got it's sort of like an Intellivision, right? But I think it's called the Dick Smith Wizard?
Oh yeah, I've heard of that before.
And it's the Wizard, but here's the bit I like. So think of the Intellivision with the 2 paddle the controllers that are like little things.
Yeah.
In this thing, in the Intellivision, you set them in this little tray, right? On this one, you set them down the tray, and it makes a QWERTY keyboard.
That's fantastic.
On each one of
what an idea.
But he's not only, and this thing, he's got a external keyboard for it and a tape drive, and he actually hooks it up and puts it all together and loads stuff on tape. And when you're loading the demos, Dick is talking to you because it's got like 2 layers.
An extra layer.
I've never seen that. It was awesome.
I think that's fantastic.
It was awesome. So,
like, can you imagine, like, when you press play on a tape for like a Spectrum, you just hear this British voice come on and say, "You ready for action?"
He's Australian.
No, I mean, I'm talking about if it was a Spectrum or whatever.
That would be great.
Yeah.
So if you haven't subscribed to Gary Hucker's YouTube channel, I strongly recommend it.
Talk about a missed marketing. I mean, think about all the licensed titles. If you would have had James Bond talking to you, or Q talking to you while you're loading the game.
I wonder why that didn't happen.
I
didn't know you could even do that.
Because I think that the Spectrum was also a multi-layered tape deal too.
Have other systems done that before?
We'll have to. If you know of any other systems that do that, leave us a comment.
I wonder if that's how the 2XL works, the robot. That's, I mean, I guess it's not because it doesn't use data. It's all voice. But this was something remarkable as it loaded up. And it would give you instructions. Here's what you can do. And it's the guy himself talking. That's what made
fantastic.
it better.
I love
I fully endorse the Huck. He's doing a great job.
Well, I'll tell you what I fully endorse. The people that make this show happen. All of our sponsors out there. Last week, Aaron, we had 2 winners. The name of the song was Tonight from West Side Story. I know, one of your favorite films.
I recognize part of that, but I didn't know the name.
Well, there's a whole suite. I sort of incorporated. It was sort of like the symphonic dances from West Side Story.
It was something.
Pac Billy, congratulations, and Terry Howard.
That's amazing that they got that. Because I mean, you butchered whatever that was.
No, it was fantastic. It was CD quality. It was Red Book. Red Book.
It was multi-layered tape quality.
I want to welcome our new Amigos Game Selection Committee member this week, Aaron. Reflection.
Ooh.
Norway's finest.
Cool name, dude.
Yeah, he was sort of one of the progenitors of the cracking scene over there.
Ooh,
I think
progenitor.
Yeah.
Man.
I want to say, I think we actually mentioned him last week because we talked about this whole thing.
You can't mention him enough.
But yeah, he's a really, really cool guy, and we're glad to have him on board. So, anyway, if you know the answer to this week's supporter song, then give us a ring over.
No, don't do that.
Over at john@amigospodcast.com.
You could be like Flack and get the Amigos hotline.
We did. You remember when we had the voicemail?
No.
And we took calls from the voicemail.
Oh, I remember that, but I mean, it's not like Flack had that number.
No, we
years.
had the number too.
Do we still have it?
Yeah, I don't remember what it is. I tried to
we
come
need
up.
to get that back up. The Amigos hotline.
Yeah, I tried to come up with a like a catchy like name, you know, like Giant Bombs is 1877 Exit Flu. Yeah, which is it's pretty great. I mean, you can remember it, but I couldn't think of any like snappy.
You know what we had to do, Bode? Remember back when the wrestling days, it was the 1-900-909-9900, and there would be news. You could go, hey, this week we should record some like stuff that you could call and listen to. Like, it'd be the ultimate cool guy news. And only people that call the line can hear it.
That would be awesome. And then have a little thing at the end where they can leave a message.
And then what we'll do is, like, when they call, be like, hey, this is Boat, this is Aaron, and our special message this week is like, I ate a donut. and then bam, they can leave.
That'll be $4.99, please.
That's right.
All right, so here we go. Reflection, Simon.
Oh, man.
Crispy kilobytes and caffeine. I love you. Deckard Threepwood, Gary Heather. Kate Fox, David Pickford. Cameron Armstrong. And Lobsterminator. 10-minute Amiga Retrocast. Counting virtual sheep. Bernard Quinn, Retro Man Cave, Tim Drew, Simon Rose, Joseph Harrison, Kyle Letta, Rob O'Hara, Howard Nibbs, Matthew Limbaugh, Andy Craig, Sean Darren Lomax, Colin 419, Bark, Bid, Roland Burke, Andrew Monks, Joe the Zombie, John Cook, Leaf Killon, Alan Kebab, Chicote, Level Lord, John Marshall, Matthew Barrow, Ricky the Rocher, Biggie CTZ, the Slow Norris Stefan, Edvin Helen, 75, Christopher Hassel, Chris Folds, Dreamcatcher, Graham Bebb, Key Lane Denson, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro Vintage, Gary Huckasee, Brian Jones, Paul Harrington, Duncan Styles Tapes from the Crypt, Josh Ned, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rulo, THT, Eric Nelson, Kim, Tommy Humbert, Star, Daniel Bingston, Brutal, Barracuda, Darren Coles, Jason Wards, Pixels of Dawn, and Kelbjorn Barman. You had to know that one.
I don't know. I thought you were just having some sort of fit. I don't know what happened there.
No.
I don't know what that was.
That was art.
That was
That's
art?
what that was.
I've got nothing to say. I'm dumb. You about blew my eardrum out.
See, Pixels knows what's up.
Well, listen, Pixels, you need to go get mental health.
Aaron, next week we're gonna play a game that's very similar to your life.
Oh.
It's called Covert Action.
Oh yeah, man, everything on the down low.
That's why when you were making that deal with the Amigas, it was all Covert Action, man.
You got that right.
All right. Well, I want to thank all of you that came along in the chat this evening with us.
There's a lot of luminaries in here.
Yeah, there are. Pixels at Dawn is with us. Curtis Boyle, Neville Overman, a.k.a. Leif, Angus Arthur.
Ooh.
Did you like that?
I did.
Samwise is here. Sharkin. Duncan Styles. Necronom is in the house. Free lunch, 10-minute Amiga Retrocast. Fair Fight 14, Wowshi MSX. And of course, Picard 2005. Thank you guys so much.
Eric Nelson in the house.
Hanging out
There's
with
a lot
us.
of people.
Yeah,
in here.
absolutely. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We do record the show live every Friday at around 5:30.
Never fails.
Never
bro.
fails.
We've never missed a show.
Yeah.
We've never missed one, but we're
We're not always at 5:30. But anyway, make sure you check out our sister shows, ARG Presents and Our Sinclair. If you'd like to subscribe to the Coco Show or any of our shows, they are available on podcatchers everywhere.
Yeah. Even if you don't like the Coco, just sign up. It's going to be awesome.
Absolutely.
We'll go get our Coco one. That's going to be awesome. I saw one of the fellas was just saying that they did that talking over tape thing with the Coco. It had a thing. Yeah,
cool.
so there you go,
That'll
man.
be something we can talk about on the new show. But next week, we'll be playing some Covert Action, so we'll see you then. Until then, adios.